Hi, welcome back here on the Senior Network. We're discussing with Brad Wiest some different types of hearing aids, and I know you have some samples to show us today.
I do, yeah. So I have this this whole board full of them. They're just sort of my dummy hearing aids to sort of show off, but really I want to talk about these two. So this is called a RIC. It stands for receiver in the canal. So she's actually holding one, and I got one here. So this is for the right side. She's actually holding the one for the left. This is the most popular style of hearing aids across the industry right now. So the way that it works is this little soft silicone dome that sits in the ear canal. Little retention cable holds it from popping out of the ear because we don't want to lose it. And the instrument itself is actually hidden right up top of the ear. So it doesn't drop really far behind, but just stays at the top. So this particular instrument has 3 microphones, 2 that face forward and 1 that faces in reverse. So it really picks up the sound all around you.
Oh, gosh.
And it's wirelessly connected to its partner. So it shares information, gives you a sense of binaural coordination. It does have a button. We can use this for programming and volume. We also can house a battery, or they can be a lithium-ion battery. So in that case, this would not pop open like this. This is the most popular type of hearing aid because we can keep all the microphones out of the ear where all the moisture and all the wax causes problems. Yeah. So if there ever is an issue with this type of hearing aid, instead of sending it into the manufacturer and having the user go an entire week without it, we can actually just switch out these wires here, and we always keep them in stock. That way they're in and out the door. So we have very few problems. IP68 rating, meaning they're almost completely waterproof, same as the new cell phones on the market.
Oh, wow.
So you can actually submerge these and all that, and if they go out, they just come back to life when they dry out. So very,
you don't have to put it in rice anymore.
No,
yeah, we put our phone in rice. Yeah, remember that?
So yeah, this is what I sell the most of. Of course, there are people who do not want anything over their ear for whatever reason. If they're wearing a hard hat, they just don't like the way it looks, things like that. What we do have is a little tiny device like this. So you can see it's only as big as really like my fingernail. This is called an IIC. It stands for invisible in the canal. I do sell these from time to time, not as many as I do those, but they're very nice as well. So instead of coming out of the box, they're actually molded to each individual's ear. So I'm able to do that by capturing an ear mold impression by using impression material.
Wow.
So I send that into the manufacturer, and they what they do is they make the hearing aid, they scan it in, and the engineers make it specifically to that user's ear. So it's very small. It goes way down in the canal, and it's not to be seen.
So how do you get that in and out?
So that's a good question, actually. I don't know if you can see this, but right here is a little fishing line.
Oh,
It's a little extraction cable. So this is going to go so far down your ear, you wouldn't be able to grab it. So you actually grab onto this piece and pull it out this way. So that just sort of lays at the bottom, so you really are not seeing that as well.
Now, these are so light, and that one must be even lighter than this one.
Absolutely.
What happens if someone loses it? Or, is there like a warranty or a...
So most of the hearing aids nowadays have a GPS feature in them. So if you lose them, you can pull up a little map on your phone and see where they are. But that's only going to get you to, say your house or the library. That's not going to get you to your laundry basket, right?
Okay.
So that's how GPS works. So things do happen. We actually have a lot of dogs eat hearing aids.
I'm sure.
Yeah. So what we offer is a 3-year loss and damage policy at the time of purchase for both of your hearing aids. So what that means is if you lose a hearing aid, or if you, it's destroyed and you cannot recover it, we will give you a brand new one anytime in the first 3 years for a small deductible.
I feel like that's worth
it's a very important
price
thing
to pay.
Yeah, absolutely.
These are so light, and that one
Well, and that brings up a good point, Heather. That other one was so tiny and so small. It seems like that would be a popular model because no one would even know you have one. What about the technology between the two? I'm assuming there's a lot of difference, right?
So right now, to get to a really small hearing aid, you need to have room for a battery in there, and you need to have the bare minimum of the microphone and the receiver.
Right.
So those instruments are taking up a lot of space already. So if you want to have Bluetooth connectivity and all of that, normally you have to make the hearing aid a little bit bigger. So if you're very, very small like that, you're starting to sacrifice some of the technology in the interest of space.
Yeah.
So that's usually a conversation that I have with an individual that wants that type of hearing aid, and they also want to have all the bells and whistles. It may not be for them. So with this type of hearing aid too, you need to have the big enough ear canal to house it.
That's a great point.
Yeah. So it's got to be able to fit a battery and everything in there. With the one you're holding right there, you can see how tiny that little speaker is.
Yes.
So I can fit those into people's ears that have a very small and narrow ear canal. So this can be the best option for really narrow canals where those really will not fit.
And it's so pliable. I mean, it's so
When I first
comfortable.
When I first fit hearing aids, everybody thinks it seems flimsy, it seems weak, I don't want to break it.
Yeah.
And it's actually very durable, it's very strong.
Wow.
Fiber optic cable there. Yeah, it's not going to break unless you actually cut it. So.
Wow.
Now, Brad, if I called to set up an appointment with you and go through the testing with you, is this something that you can get on the spot, or do you?
It is. It is. That particular little hearing aid right there is a high level of technology, but you wouldn't know the technology by looking at it, because the technology is the little chip on the inside is kind of like the internal components drive the performance, much like any other computer. These are, in fact, little computers on the side of your head. So in that particular hearing aid, we have 8 or 10 different levels of technology.
Right.
That's where the purchase price comes in. That's where the performance comes in.
Bells and whistles or whatever you want.
I'm usually keeping 4 or 5 different levels of technology on hand in stock in my office.
So they can
at all times.
they can come in for an appointment and leave with a hearing aid.
Leave it an hour with a hearing
Wow.
aid and hearing better. Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. That's great customer service.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, I know that before the show, before we run out of time, Heather, talk about, I know that you've been going through a lot of the delivery of care and talking about how Right at Home does that and really improving and going through the Joint Commission we talked about earlier. Tell us a little bit about, because I know you have a specialty with all the details that start with that start of care.
Well, and I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud of how we go about start of care. And so when we get the phone call, either from a family or from the client themselves, a nurse goes out, a registered nurse goes out and talks with the family or the client about what their needs are.
Right.
And, we do a home assessment and we, look around and we see what is going on, and maybe they say, oh, I only want, an hour or two, but we see there's really a bigger need for that. And so we are the experts in the field, as someone told me once. And so it's important that we use that knowledge and help to guide and to make suggestions. And I feel I'm really passionate about that. I don't try to say something or do something that is not
Sell you something that you really don't need.
Because I'm not a salesman.
Yeah.
I told them that when I came on board, but I can look at the situation and really tell. And my nurses are that way too. That we are not trying to do something more, but really it's coming from a place of safety and trying to keep everybody.
Right.
And with this Joint Commission accreditation, what is so wonderful about that is that now there's processes in place where we go back every week, depending on how many hours a day you have, and we look over the plan of care and we look at customer satisfaction. And very much like your business, this is a business that we want everyone to be happy and to be safe, and you have to mesh those two together, which sometimes can be a little difficult to keep everybody.
Sure, you're in the people business and
Right.
personalities and a lot
Right.
of things come to play, and it brings
Right.
up a good
Right.
point. I know in home care a lot of people are a little hesitant because just the idea of strangers coming into the home and providing care to them, meaning a couple hours or around the clock.
Right.
So tell us some of the things that you do to make that an easy process.
Well, I always tell, first of all, whenever we have a new caregiver come in, we always introduce the caregiver. And so that maybe Mrs. Smith knows me but doesn't know the caregiver.
Right.
So there's that transition. If there's things happen with caregivers and they call out or there's a problem, our staff in the office is really good about calling that family and saying, Mrs. Smith, Susie's not coming anymore, it's going to be Jenny. Right. And so that there's that level of, again, communication and customer service, because it is new for these families.
Yeah.
And having somebody you don't know come in is very scary. And you're entrusting them completely.
Yes.
The other thing that I do is I make sure that everybody has my cell phone, and that if there's a question or a concern, and it doesn't matter what the concern is, and you don't have to explain why you don't like the caregiver or why it's not a good match. You just call me up and say, Heather, this just isn't working for me, and I will make something different, because I want this to be a good experience. Because if the experience is good, it will last, it will make my job easier, and we'll get, good positive feedback.
Word of mouth, exactly.
Which really is what I want, is I want everyone to feel good about what the service that they're getting from right at home.
Exactly. Well, Heather, thank you so much. Always great to see you.
Thank you.
Brad, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Greg.
And thank you for allowing us here in your home. We appreciate it. Please take a moment, email us any comments, questions you may have, and thank you all for joining us here on the Senior Network, where senior care experts come together. We'll see you the next time.